The Dodgers bounced back, but Monday's loss still haunts them because after it, Mookie Betts held a meeting with Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman. Is there something there or not?
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. After a rough Monday that left Dodgers fans shaking their heads, Los Angeles bounced back with their bats waking up against the Rockies. But questions are still swirling because Mookie Betts met with the top Dodgers brass after that loss. Is it something serious or just routine? And with Tom Verducci saying the Dodgers have systemic problems, is this team really built to contend? We're breaking it all down in today's episode, brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. He's Travis Rodgers. I'm Harry Ruiz. Two guys who talk sports for a living and bleed Dodger blue for life. If you're an early bird listener of our show, you can get more Travis on 710 ESPN LA or the ESPN LA app from 9 to noon with the Travis and DeMarco show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play broadcaster for the Las Vegas Raiders and USC football, but nothing beats jumping on the mic every weekday morning and diving deep into what I love most, which is talking Dodger baseball with you. We were able to have a big sigh of relief on Tuesday because the Dodgers got traffic on the bases early and, most importantly, scored runs. 7 of them through the first 3 innings, which ended up being enough. But the Rockies started chipping away and made it a 3-run game in the 6th, with which a lead like that can disappear in a heartbeat at Coors Field. Fortunately for Los Angeles, they put the pedal to the metal and tacked on 4 more to get a bounce-back win. Travis, this is how Dodger baseball should be when you have Shohei, Mookie, Will, and Freddie in your lineup. Stress-free.
And especially when you're playing in Coors Field. That is exactly the blueprint that you're looking for when you go into a place like that against a team like that. That is, like you mentioned, Harry, that's a ballpark where even big leads feel kind of tenuous, that you never feel super great about where you are in Coors Field. I guess the flip side is you never feel like you're really out of it in Coors Field either, because big innings are always kind of lurking there. But, you know, I thought the Dodgers did a really good job of responding to a really ugly loss on Monday. They came out there, they jumped on them right away. Austin Gomber, with all due respect to him and his family and his teammates, is not a good major league pitcher. He is statistically one of the worst major league pitchers. He is a guy that gives up a ton of hits, gives up a ton of runs that you can get healthy against, and they did. And that is exactly what you were looking for. Like you mentioned, they jumped them right out of the gate. They put up some runs quickly. All of a sudden, you have some guys that have been cooling, maybe not cold, but cooling, like Will Smith, that kind of jumped right back in there and looked very good again. Shohei on base all night long, doing a great job of doing what he did. But I thought Emmett Sheehan did a great job too, at just putting up a bunch of zeros, getting a bunch of strikeouts. And even when he gave up runs, kind of minimized some damage along the way. It was exactly the response you were looking for after a rough opening game to the series.
Yeah, and my favorite part about this, too, is that they weren't that home run dependent. Yes, they got 2 solo bombs in the 2nd inning, but besides that, you had players reaching base with walks, with doubles, with singles. We even had a bunt for the Dodgers, which was like, hey, there you go, a little bit of small ball, but when you have runners in 1st and 2nd with no outs, take advantage of opportunities like that. Build runs, construct them, be able to manufacture them, and get the team rolling. I mean, every Dodgers player in the starting lineup got at least 1 hit. 6 of them had a multi-hit game, and Alex Call, my man, what a great game. He had his best game as a member of the organization with 4 hits, his first home run with the boys in blue, and he was only a triple shy from the first cycle for the franchise in nearly a decade. When you have the bottom of the order producing like that, that makes it way easier for the guys up top.
Yeah, I thought the cycle was certainly in play. Again, Coors Field changes everything. That outfield is so enormous. Go ask Teoscar Hernandez that balls find holes and they roll forever, and triples are a real part of the game at Coors Field. So I thought Call had a really good shot at it. Like you mentioned, it was nice to see him have a big day offensively as a member of the Dodgers for the first time. But I think it's a great demonstration of what this team can do offensively when one guy at the back of the order has a good day, right? It would be great if your 7, 8, 9s could put together 3 or 4 hit nights, collectively every single night. Let's be honest, that's just not going to happen. Very few teams have a team where 7, 8, 9 are going to get a hit each, and it's just not how it goes. But if you get one guy on any given night that can kind of turn that line over, that can get to the top of the order, that can be on base when Shohei Ohtani comes up, it changes everything. It just gives, what did Ohtani had 3 at-bats through the first 3 innings of the night, and all of a sudden it just puts an incredible amount of pressure when you got to get Mookie, Shohei, Freddie, and Will Smith out, let's call it 16 times or even 20 times as opposed to 16 or 12 times. It's a game changer. And those guys at the bottom, they don't necessarily have to score a bunch of runs. They don't necessarily have to drive in a bunch of runs. But when you get on base the way that Alex Call did last night, it turns the lineup over. It gives you those heavy hitters, those big thumpers, additional opportunities. And you get a couple of those guys working, forget about it. That's when the team is just going to absolutely roll the way they did last night. But it was nice to see Call really show up and give some depth to that Dodger lineup, especially when you're missing a guy like Max Muncy, who's that's his primary job, is to connect the front of the lineup to the back of the lineup. And they did that really well last night.
Going over now to the mound, Emmett Sheehan, he went 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 runs, continuing this great stretch where the pitchers for LA are taking care of more than half of the innings, the starters, because it's now 5 consecutive games with the starters going at least 5 innings. In 4 of those games, the starter has pitched 6 plus innings. That helps the bullpen big time, especially with the Dodgers having games each of the next 8 days after already playing 5 days in a row. No days off in a 13-day span. That's not ideal when you have injuries to some of your top bullpen arms, but you saw it. Emmett Sheehan, he took care of 6 innings. You give the bullpen 3 innings. They were fabulous. No runs, and the Dodgers were able to win. Also, it was a no-pressure situation at that moment. I know it's Coors Field, but it's better going out there with a 7-run lead as a bullpen instead of having to take care of a 2-run lead with at Coors Field.
Yeah, I think you bring up 2 very good points. Number one, the continuation of the starting pitching being really good. Not to get too deep into any of our lives here, Harry, but this is like a relationship, right? Sometimes your partner carries you and sometimes you carry them. That this is the way that it works, right? That if everybody's going great, but we know how relationships work. Sometimes you're down and you lean on your partner and they help you out, and vice versa. This has been the relationship with the Dodgers all season long. The Dodgers starting pitching was in a pit for most of the year, that other than Yamamoto and, quite frankly, Dustin May and Clayton Kershaw, you never knew who was going to take the mound, and you never knew how long they were going to be out there, which meant that the bullpen was basically on call from the 3rd, 4th inning every single night for the first part of the season. Well, that finally caught up to the Dodgers, and they still lead the league in bullpen innings, but you're starting to see the relationship switch back to the starting guys saying, guys, we've got you. You helped me early in the season. Let us help you. And they've been pitching deep into games. If you're only asking your bullpen to cover 3, sometimes only 2 innings, that's a huge deal. That's number one. Number 2 is what you said, which is not only are they doing that, they're doing it in a way where a lot of the times, like last night, they're low stress innings. If one thing to have to cover a game like you did on Sunday afternoon against the Padres, which is very high stress and high demand, and Alex Vezia did a great job and he got out of it. But we saw what it is last night, where it's, look, you can give up a hit here or there. You can even give up a home run and it's not the end of the game. It allows you to use different guys. It allows those different guys to pitch differently because they're not in high leverage situations. And it just turns the temperature down on everything. This is what you have to do when you play the Colorado Rockies. Starting pitching, go deep into games to take pressure off the bullpen. The offense to give you a nice big lead so those bullpen innings are low stress, and they hit both marks last night.
And also, when you're in Colorado, you got to be a slump buster out there. And we saw Michael Conforto do it in June, where he started feeling himself and had a way better July compared to the beginning of the season. How about Will Smith? You go to his last 10 games before yesterday's game, he had gone 3-for-31. That's a batting average of, let me see, .097.
Yeah.
That's very bad. But yesterday, he had a very good game. He went 3-for-4. His batting average is now back up to 308, which is leading the big leagues because he entered the game tied with Freddie Freeman, 303. So with a 3-for-4 effort, he went back to leading the National League. And you don't look at it as much with Will Smith because he had been so consistent throughout the season that when he has that bad stretch of 2 weeks, it's like, well, he'll get out of it, and he got out of it yesterday. It hasn't been as prolonged as we have seen in the past with the likes of Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman, which also had a month right there where it was starting to get concerning. With Will, I'm not as concerned, but just seeing him get that kind of game under his belt, I'm like, okay, that's the Will Smith we're used to.
Yeah, look, you take anybody in baseball, they're going to have a bad 2 weeks. I mean, that's everybody. Take the best players in the league, whether that's Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge or whoever you want to pick. You pick a rough, 10, 12, 15, 20 game sample, and they're going to have, that doesn't look very good. I think that's what Will Smith was going through. I think as far as the batting title goes, having had the opportunity to sit with Will Smith on my radio show last week and get to spend a decent amount of time with him and talk with him a little bit. And usually I hear stuff like this and I go, yeah, right. Sure you don't. But in this case, I actually truly believe him. When he says he doesn't care about the batting title, I don't think he cares about the batting title. If he wins it, great. It would be a nice feather in his cap. But he wants to be healthy at the end. He wants to drive in runs. He wants to be an all-around player. And if that means that he's got to sacrifice some things along the way to help his team win, he will do it. That being said, it was really nice to see him get back to the top of the race. Hopefully he and Freddie can kind of ping pong that thing back and forth between the two of them. I know Xavier Edwards from Miami is kind of in there as well. So it may be a 3-man race down the end, but it was nice to see him get hot. And look, he's one of those guys, even when he's cold, I don't worry about him too much. He is a pro's pro. He's always going to give you a good at bat. He doesn't strike out a ton. And once we get in October, seeing Will Smith come up to the plate is a very reassuring thing.
And have these 2 weeks in early August, not in September, not in October. And one last thing regarding on-field situations for the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani, he's going to get Thursday off. So Will Smith, we're going to be able to see him as a designated hitter. Would you go that route, Travis, or would you prefer potentially giving Teoscar Hernandez a day off from being out at right field in an early game in Colorado and having him be the designated hitter? Who would you go for in that situation? Because Shohei hasn't had a real day off until this Thursday. The last 2 times that he missed a game was because he was in paternity leave.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that one of the great, traits of Shohei Ohtani that we never talk about, he plays every day. Like he just plays every single day, and it's you take it for granted a little bit. I think they're both good choices. I think it's both an opportunity to get either of them off their feet. I would defer to Dave Roberts on this one. The catcher is always the guy I would be more likely to get, into a DH role because I just think it's a little bit easier for him, obviously. And like Teo looked a little better in right field last night. I know we're going to talk about that coming up in just a little bit, but I think that whoever they put in that DH with Ohtani down is good news, and I like the fact that Ohtani's getting a day.
Finally, right?
Yeah.
And next on Locked On Dodgers, Mookie Betts met with the Dodgers brass after Monday's loss. Was it something serious or nothing at all? Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends and family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands instead of your couch. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices actually drop on the app the closer you get to the first pitch. And they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Seat views are right there on the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you'll be. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Let us know what you think of the report from the LA Times saying that Mookie Betts met privately with Dodgers president of baseball operations, Andrew Friedman, and manager Dave Roberts after the disappointing loss on Monday. Is this a big deal, Travis? Because it happened on the heels of Teoscar Hernandez having a couple of blunders that cost LA the possibility of winning on Monday, and Teo was playing right field, Mookie's position where he has won multiple Gold Gloves.
I think all of those things coming together at the same time are what makes it interesting. I think that if this had happened on the heels of a ho-hum, like, put it to you this way, if what had happened a couple of nights ago happened last night after Teo made his plays in right field, he got some hits, Mookie, all of those things, I think it would be like all right, whatever. I don't know what they're talking about, but that it came when it did obviously leads you very quickly to the assumption that they were discussing a move back to right field. And it makes a lot of sense, right? It solves a lot of problems. I was talking about this on my radio show, and look, who was in right field when the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020? Mookie Betts. Who was in right field when the Dodgers won the World Series last season? Mookie Betts. Who is the best right fielder on the team? Mookie Betts. Who's the best shortstop on the team? There are a lot of options. I don't know if one's any better than the other defensively. So it feels obvious to me. It's something that I've been advocating for a while. I think what makes it more possible, and I don't know if it's going to happen for sure, but what I think it makes it more possible is this is about the time they did it a year ago. And number two, it allows two things to happen. Number one, Mookie finally started to hit. And that Mookie started to hit, it allows you to move him without embarrassing him. It allows you to move him to right field without saying, look, he's still not hitting. We got to try to find a way to get him hitting. You can move him to right field, and it is entirely leading us to number two, which is save us, Mookie. Right? We asked you to save us by moving to shortstop. They put him in a bind with the whole Gavin Lux situation a couple of years ago, and he went in there, and he's done a very good job to get through it. But now you're asking him to save you in a different way. We need help in the outfield. You're the best outfielder. We're not taking you out of shortstop because you can't play shortstop. We're taking you off of shortstop because we need you in the outfield. That is a totally different ask. It's not embarrassing. It doesn't put him in an awkward situation. The team needs him. It allows him to feel good about all of these things. It allows him to be a savior of sorts. So I think it's really, really interesting. It also could mean nothing, Harry. It also could be they could be talking about anything else, and we would never know. I mean, but the fact that it was Friedman, the fact that it's the manager, the fact that it's Mookie, and it was a closed-door meeting, and everybody's kind of tight-lipped about it, it's pretty easy to jump to the conclusion that they might have been talking about a position change. And I hope they were, because it's long overdue.
Yeah, speculation started going wild in the Dodgerverse once this report came out from the LA Times, holding on to see if the lineup on Tuesday was going to have any difference. I was on X refreshing, waiting for the Dodgers to post the lineup, but Mookie was still at short. Hernandez was still at right.
Harry, I'm sorry. I think what makes it again, these guys are real people with real feelings, with real emotions, and psyches, right? To hook Teoscar immediately after him having that bad of a night would have been very embarrassing to Teoscar. And Teoscar's a good teammate. Teoscar's a valuable member of this team. So this could be one of those, hey, we're going to start time. We're not going to do it the very next day, but we may do it sooner than later. So let's start to get all the pieces in a row.
And Travis, also, we didn't bring it up during yesterday's show, but I watched the interview that Teoscar Hernandez did post-game. He was smiles. He was unbothered. But that's Teoscar Hernandez. That's the way that he is. And that's the way most baseball players look at things, where it was like, Well, it was one bad game out of 162. We can come back tomorrow and forget about what happened in that game. And that's literally what happened with the Dodgers. Tasker had a couple of nice plays at right field.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the ball was behind him and not in front of him in those plays.
Left.
Or to his left.
I think there's a couple of things. Number one, I'm with you. So we had some calls on my radio show again about it. Why is Teoscar smiling? It's like, have you ever watched Teoscar Hernandez? He's always smiling. That's just who he is. That he is that sort of guy. He's a very positive guy. He knows he messed it up. He knows that he made a couple of bad plays. He knows that he probably cost his team a win on Monday. But that was number one. So I didn't take anything other than that. Then that's just Teoscar Hernandez being Teoscar Hernandez. I was not offended by that in any meaningful way. The two plays he made last night, neither were in front of him and neither were to the line. That where he really seems to struggle is coming in or going to his left, which makes, you can't fix the coming in. You're going to have to come in occasionally, but you can fix the going left, right? Going left in left field, you got help on the center field side. Going left in right field, there's nothing but you and the foul line and a lot of room. So it's just another reason to me that you could put him over in left field because you can get him help to the side that he seems to struggle with.
Exactly. So Mookie Betts, he ended up talking about the situation. He was asked about it. Here's something that I got to start it off with. You never know. And you're never going to know the truth at times where it's like, hey, did they actually talk about something or not? Mookie said that he popped his head in there, Dave Roberts' office, to reiterate to the Dodgers top honchos how good he feels about his swing. And by the way, Dave Roberts said that this isn't a one-off. Mookie apparently likes going into Doc's office all the time. And then he also added that they haven't discussed about Mookie going back to right field all season long. So that's what they said to the microphones. Behind the scenes, a lot of things could be going on. I mean, Dave Roberts had literally just said on Thursday that Max Muncy's oblique injury wasn't an oblique situation, or it wasn't something similar to last year. And then on Friday, he's on the IL with an oblique injury. So you never know what's 100% truth, what's 100% not. They always protect each other in those cases.
They do. And I've said this on my Locked on Rams podcast that I do with my pal Doug McCain each day. I'm a big believer, Harry, and I watch what people do. I don't listen to what they say. Right. And you can tell me whatever you want. You can tell me that everything is fine. You can tell me that you're not thinking about that. Okay, great. I don't, like you just said, I don't know. I'm not in that room. I'm just going to go by what you do. And we'll see, because last year there were no plans to move Mookie Betts back to right field, and Mookie Betts went to right field. And so I'm not saying they're going to. I'm not saying that it's going to happen today, tomorrow. I just know that their best version is with him in right field. He's hitting again, so you can save a little face. You have a real defensive liability in right field as it is. You have a real offensive liability in left field that can come off the field if you put Teoscar over there. It seems to fix a lot of problems. And I think the other part about why maybe not right away, but maybe sooner than later, you're very shorthanded in the infield. You don't have Kim, you don't have Edman, you don't have Muncy, you don't have Kike. You're missing 4 potential options in the infield. As weird as it sounds, they need Mookie in the infield right now just because they're short of infielders, whereas putting him in the outfield, once one of those guys come back, it opens up everything for him to go back to right field.
The floodgates open with that. Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, one of the top insiders in baseball just isn't sold on the Dodgers this year. We'll tell you if we agree with him next. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you come in every day or here on Locked On Dodgers, like AC, who yesterday commented on YouTube. Absolutely a fluke they took the Padres. We're playing horrible baseball. End quote. This was regarding the loss on Monday, by the way. And Travis, it's been up and down, honestly, more downs than up since the 4th of July for the Dodgers. And it's fair for people to have their doubts on this team. Tom Verducci, one of the top insiders in the sport, actually got into the Dodgers in a recent episode of Foul Territory podcast, saying the following: I'm telling you guys, there's something that's just not right with this team. This is not just, let's get healthy. They've not played well this year. He went on to show how the Dodgers have taken a step back defensively with the bats and pitching, then mentioned that he doesn't like the way they're playing and that the team has systemic problems. What do you make from one of the top guys that has a lot of connections, not only with the Dodgers, but all around baseball, saying these kind of comments?
I think he's right up until a point. I think that to say that they have not played well this year, that's not crazy. That's probably accurate. They haven't. They have not played the way that you expected them to play. They have not been a team that's going to win 115 or 20 games, which is what we were talking about at the beginning of the year. They have some defensive liabilities. They have some guys that are having seasons that are below the line. They've had all sorts of injury problems. Their starting pitching was, quite frankly, atrocious until very recently. Their bullpen was very good until very recently, and it's flipped. That with the exception of Shohei and Will Smith, nobody's having a year that makes you go, oh my gosh, maybe you could throw Freddie in there as well. But this is not a team that has been firing on all cylinders at all. Really, other than the first 8 games of the season where they got off to that 8-0 start, this has been now what's wrong with these guys? They've looked like a 500 team, maybe. Now, that's where I agree with Tom Verducci. Where he kind of loses me a little bit is that doesn't mean that there are systemic problems. That means that there are guys not playing well. That means that there are a lot of guys missing. I believe Andrew Friedman believes this. I believe Dave Roberts believes this. And I believe that most of the Dodger players probably believe this. Give me my full complement of players and let's see what happens. They don't have to. They don't have to run the table. They don't have to go, on a 45-5 run to prove that they're good. They got to win one more time than they lose over the course of about 8 or 9 days in a series. That's it. And I don't care who they're playing. Again, with all the problems we've talked about, they're still in first place. They're still leading their division. There's not another team in baseball that could have this many things go wrong, have this many players underperform their typical performance and still be in first place. Every other team in baseball would be way out of the playoff picture. And we're complaining about the Dodgers, or maybe complaining is the wrong word, trying to microanalyze the Dodgers, and they're still a first place team. And the reason we're frustrated and saying what's up with these guys is because they don't have a 15-game lead. They're in an actual race for the first time in a long time. I agree with him. This is not the team that anybody thought was coming, and I don't think that crazy run that we were all waiting for probably isn't coming. They're just not going to be that team. That doesn't mean they're not good enough to win the World Series, and I really don't believe it means that there are some underlying fundamental problems with this group.
Yeah, look, they would have to go 28-8 in the 36 remaining games to get to 100 wins. That's not going to happen. No. But at the same time, he's talking about injuries, players not giving the same production defensively, offensively. I'll just challenge you. Look at the Philadelphia Phillies. They just lost Zach Wheeler potentially for the rest of the season with a blood clot. Let's see how the Phillies perform over the next couple of weeks without their ace, without the top guy in their rotation. Look at the Cubs without Pete Crow Armstrong performing like he did at the beginning of the season. Right now, yes, they're hanging on to a wild card spot, but they're like 7 games behind the Brewers. That's a combination between the Brewers playing really good and the Cubs not playing as good as they did early in the season. Look at the Mets. They're tanking right now. Yeah. During the worst part possible for them. They only have a 1-game lead over the last wild card spot in the National League. Every team has its flaws. It's a baseball season. It's a grueling season where you're in spring training early in February and you go all the way through September if you're a team that doesn't make it to the playoffs, and October if you're a team like the Dodgers that's contending. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows. The Dodgers haven't been at the best of their abilities that we thought they were going to be at, but they're still a pretty damn good team.
They are, and think about it this way, that for the last, 10, 12 years, it has been, and this format scares the daylights out of you because the Dodgers have just kicked everybody's tail for 6 months. And now all of a sudden we go right back to 0-0 when these series starts and you have a bad night or two and you're out. Well, that may actually benefit the Dodgers for the first time in a while, where being back at 0-0 and being able to kind of, okay, here we go, everything's fresh. I think that's great news for them. I really do. I think that you just need a good performance on the mound. You need a relief pitcher to have a good night, and you need a couple of your star players to get a couple of big hits. It's that's a good formula for anybody, and the Dodgers are more likely to do that than anybody else. It's not this. This could have been a Dodgers broke baseball. The Dodgers rigged the game. All this deferred money, all these star players, all these deals. Every free agent they wanted, they went out and bought. And I think we got confirmation of that. That never works. Right? That just we'll just sign everybody. That doesn't work. The baseball gods say, nah, you can't do that. We're going to make you work for it. And the Dodgers have had to work for it, but that's okay. That we're getting close to the point where we're going to be 0-0. Everybody else is going to be 0-0. And now you got to win tonight. And in that situation, you got to win tonight. Think about this. The Padres, they got to win. They did. The Blue Jays, you got to win. They did. Last night, as weird as it sounds, on the heels of a bad loss in Colorado, a game of, hey, we really need to win this game tonight. They did. When they need to be good, they usually are. And that's why I have faith in this group.
12 series left in the season, including
Crazy.
this one against the Rockies. Only 4 of them are against teams that are contending to either be in the playoffs or win their divisional championship. So there's also a lot of opportunities to capitalize on teams that aren't just looking at the rest of the way and being like, man, we got to play real hard. It's like, well, they're playing for individual awards. They're playing for their futures in the league. So you got to go out there, take advantage of opportunities, and don't have letdowns like you did against the Rockies. I don't want you going out there and playing against the Pittsburgh Pirates and having a big letdown when their season right now, they're 53-74. No. Go out there, perform, do your thing, and don't let the Padres gain any more ground when you're playing bad teams and they're playing good squads. But interesting conversation right there with Tom Verducci, having some comments that caught my eye right there for the Dodgers. Well, that will do it for today's show. From Travis and I, thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast. We'll be back on Thursday with the latest Shohei Ohtani outing on the mound before a very well-deserved day off. His first one scheduled in 2025. A day off? What's that, Travis?
Crazy. Enjoy this man while he's doing what he's doing, because this will not last forever. He is a unicorn 101. I don't know what the description is. I just know that sit back and enjoy the Shohei Ohtani experience, because you're never going to see another one.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.